Well, good evening. The hooves today were up at Wyong. It was their Magic Millions Day. Quite a few people there. Um, what do you say? It wasn't a bad little meeting. Um, the track was good. We started out dead, finished up good. Rail was in the normal position. There was a very strong tailwind up the straight. Very, very strong. It eased off the last two races. So it was very strong for the first five, and then was only light for the last two races. I suppose it did have an effect on some runners coming down the side in the sprint races. The first race, it was won by the favourite, resuming Narcissus. It had blinkers on the day and had been gelded. We put it up very cautiously, about 225, got out to 240, but they killed you for the 10 to 9 on late, and it started at $1.80. It raced up handy all the way, and it finished up winning by a length and a half. It was a bit hard to see the replays there today. There was a lot of noise where the replay channel was, and well, for instance, there was one runner, I think, Moral Victory. Apparently the gate was a bit slow to open. It was a clear second last. It made up a lot of ground down the outside. They found a trickle of blood in one of its nostrils, and it's going to have to gallop over 1,000 metres to prove that it's not a bleeder. It made up a lot of ground into about fifth or sixth hole. But the favourite, as I say, raced up nice and handy, and it was a bit too strong and extremely well back. We got it out to 240, as I say, and it started at $1.80. The second race, on the screen in the first race, there was a positive figures, about 107.5 on the screen, and in the marketplace about a little bit less, 104 or 5. Second race, there was 105 on the screen, but only about 101 in the marketplace, and this was won by the second favourite. Although the favourite started second favourite, the winner, Sir Burris. We put it up favourite, but it got out to $4. $5 might have been bet. But only started $4.60. But it was a fairly easy way for the captains. By the same token, there was only really one runner backed, and that was the first starter, Lures, also from the Snowden camp, the stablemate to the first winner, and it was $7 into $4 taken. Started about $3.80. Sixes to 11 or 4, and it was just poleaxed in the betting ring. 3 waves, and the pros kept on having a plate of it every time bookies were willing to let them on. As I say, the winner got a little bit out in the market, and the other 3 runners that were in the market, they were the top 3. They were extremely hard to lay. Storm Pelotari, it went from $4.60 out to $6. But Ptolemy, number 2, it went from $4.60 out to $7, and Group Hug, it went from $4.60 or $5 out to $6 back into $5.50, and all the others were long odds. There was a little bit of money for a runner down the bottom, Bad Dream, from $25, $26, $21 into $17, and Sir Burris, it sat back in the field. There was plenty of pace on up front, and it was able to round them up. And the second place getter, it came from second last. It was a stablemate to the one that they backed, Realms, number 8, and it came from a second last down the outside. I think the wind could have had a bit of an effect on the leaders in that race. And as I say, they did go hard. The first 2 got right away. There's only a half a length between them when they hit the line, and it was over 3 lengths back to the third horse, which was Sparkling Sky, who raced up near the lead and 3 wide all the way. So its run wasn't bad. I haven't had a real good look at the tape. Race 3, there was 108.6 on the screen, only 101 in the marketplace, and the winner here was extremely well backed. Talking about the bottom weight, Mop Arena, was given a good ride, sat in behind the pace. We gave as much as $8 about it, or $6 out to $8, back into $6 at the death. Extremely well found. The runner that ran second was the opening favourite. It finished up starting favourite or equal favourite. I'm talking about Magnolia Lane, but it would have been a great result for the captains because it didn't have a price it went from $5, $3.50, 5 to 2 chance, from a 5 to 2 chance out to 9 to 2, 3.50 out to 5.50. Unlayable, really, Magnolia Lane. It was a skinner for me, whereas the winner, it was extremely well backed. All of the other runners, well, there was a runner called Pin. It was extremely well backed, from $9 into $6.50, hard to get even into $6. And unfortunately, it pulled on its rider, Mrs. C. Schmidt, back in the field when it was trapped a little bit wide, and she let it stride down the side, and it blazed its way through the wind and finally found the lead and crossed to the fence. And I think it finished up running fourth, and it was only beaten 2.9 lengths. So its run was a lot better than it looked, Pin. Whereas the winner, as I say, it was beautifully ridden by Joe McDonald, smothered back and had one go at them. And the second horse, Magnolia Lane, was also perfectly ridden by Hugh Bowman, Horseman Bowman. And there was only 0.2 of a length between them when they hit the line. Running third was I Like the Boy. It set up in a handy second position all the way, just plugged away. And as I say, Pin, after being used up, was a better effort than it looked, holding on to fourth hole. All of the other runners, well, it was backed at one stage, Suzanne, from $6, might have even been $7, might have been bet at $6 general into $5 at one stage, back to $5.50 at the death. The fourth race, well, here we saw the short price favourite. I'll tell you exactly what the market was. It wasn't a tens on chance. You could lay it. I was $1.22 when they jumped. They said 114.5 on the screen. Well, you add it up for yourself. There was this was the betting. Fuming went from 50 out to 101. Shivarachi, it went from $9 out to $12, back into 11, back out to 12. Complete Secret went from 100 to 300. The next runner, it went up $1.10, but myself and another captain on the fence let you lay $1.22 on. We said, yeah, you can lay as $1.22 on, lay a 9 to 2 on it, and it started at $1.22 on my board. She's a Stalker, the winner. It went from $6 out to $9, back into $8 right towards the death. And the bottom one, Cheers Rihanna, went from $201 out to $301. This favourite, before they were about to jump, got his leg over the stall, was inspected by the vet, and there was a bit of skin on its off stifle, I think on at least one of its legs, after the race, which was evident. And there's going to be a little bit of an inquiry into it, but I don't think anything will come out of it. I thought it had every possible chance. It led early, but the 300 to 1 chance went around and finished up finding the bunny. Cheers Rihanna, and the winner was outside the favourite as the 300 to 1 chance moved up. And when it found the fence, then She's a Stalker, ridden by Catwalk Corey Brown, it had the favourite locked away on the fence. And then 3 wide was Fuming, and the other pair, Shivachi from Barrier 1, was running second last, and a long last early in the race was Complete Secret, which had moved up closer out, and there wasn't much between the field, and what it might have only been about 3.5 lengths between the 6 of them when they hit the bend. But She's a Stalker got a lovely run. The favourite, She's a Stalker, got past the leader quickly, and the favourite eased off their heels, went out after She's a Stalker, but couldn't round it up and was beaten 1 length, having its chance. But we will never know whether that little incident at the start of the race upset it. The winner, by the same token, is very good. I think I pointed out to you, it hadn't trialled before it ran at Canterbury last start. I would say this very astute trainer from Gosford, whose strike rate is very good, she knew where she was going with this runner, and that run at Canterbury just topped it off beautifully for today. Race 5, There was 109.2 on the screen and only 100 in the marketplace. And this was a huge result for the captains. This was won by the top weight frozen rope. It didn't have a price. It went from $8 out to $13. They left us with it. And there were plenty of runners back in this race. Beaveroo, they took $31 off me at one stage. Unfortunately, I missed laying this favourite, Exceed and Exalt. I got some section out of it. We put it up $2.80. It got out. It finished up leading, and there was a good, nice, solid pace up in front. And I think the wind was very strong there. It didn't help this runner. It finished up running fifth, beat about 2.8 lengths. As I say, it went up $2.80. It was reached for out to $3.30, but it was into $2.90 at one stage. They took you $3. I was $3.40 when they jumped, trying to lay it, and there were no customers about. It was impossible to lay late in betting. They took $12 off me. July Opera. Wish Win was out to $41 layable. Word Gets Around was layable at $12. It only started 10. Shadow Me was layable at $10, not for a lot of section. Project Compassion, layable at $10 for a good bit of section. I think I even gave 11. I gave $11. So it's less than 100 here. Rock Achiever didn't have a price. It didn't have a price. Went from $12 out to 21 or even 26. Bronze Arena was backed. It was galloped on from behind. It went up $9. Only started 7. And the Last General, well, I was always $13 and $14 about the Last General, layable for some small section. And the figures were, as I say, very skinny. We were playing swai with the punters here. But the winner was a great result for the captains, as I say, and it settled down in third last position. It was slightly held up turning for home. So when it got the split, it burst through the middle and went away and won by a length and a half from Project Compassion, who had a fair run in about 6th or 7th position, and running third in the race was Wish Win, who was up near the lead all the way. So it held on fairly well, considering they did roll along up near the lead. Now race 6, they were losing figures on the screen here, 99.2, but there was a few less, maybe 2 less in the marketplace, about 97. And this was the main race. This was the Magic Millions 2-year-old leading up to the race up in Queensland. And there was a huge tip around for Dothraki after it had trialled. And we put it up $3. It got out to $3.20, 30. It was poleaxed into $2.80 at one stage, but it got out at the finish. You wouldn't see it on the flux. I was $3.40. I might have even been $3.50 when they jumped. The other runner in the market, it started favourite. The other runner in the market, it went up favourite Certitude, but it was very hard to lay. It went from $2.80 up to $3.80, eased all the way through betting. And the winner and third pick, A Sale, which was a very good win, we put it up 9-2, $5.50. It got out to $7, but it was $5.50, very hard to get at the death, and extremely well backed. Now, going to the lead from an outside alley was Always Tomorrow, and sitting on its outside was the winner. And before the turn, it just got past the 80-1 chance and set up a winning break, and it strolled in. But by the same token, it had its chance. The one that there was the huge wrap on, Dothraki. It sat in about 4th, 5th position, looking at the pace, and it held on. It finished up running 5th, beaten about 5.5 lengths by the same token. But there was a very good run. I haven't had a real good, as I said, there's a lot of noise there, and you couldn't make out where runners were, and wind was blowing, and people yelling, screaming in the bar, of course. And that's where the replay channel is. It's the smallest TV screen you've ever seen. And I've got a funny feeling this bottom one, Dream Forward, who finished up running third, it could have got trapped 3 and 4 wide all the way in this race and came from well back and made up a lot of ground down the outside. Running second was number 12, Thrill Seeking, 3 lengths. It was beaten 3 lengths and was 3.8 lengths away to Dream Forward, as I say, who might have got trapped wide, and its run was fairly good. And the second favourite, Certitude, Well, it missed the kick slightly and raced in restricted room for a good part of the race, and then it was held up turning for home, and then held up slightly again and checked, and it made up plenty of ground along with the third horse Dream Forward. So their runs most probably. I'll have to have a good look at this race. The winner was up out of trouble, and as I say, got clear and won by 3 lengths. So, but I'll have to have a closer look at the third and fourth horses. Their runs were most probably better than they looked. All the other runners in the race, there was a bit of money for well, number one, they had to get to $16 to lay it. They took $26. Number two, they took $21. Number three, why wouldn't you when you're giving 87? It was labelled at $81 always tomorrow. Told you about the three picks. It didn't have a price crazy for you. It was 16 out to 31. It was 200 the next runner. I laid 10,100 win and place the next runner patronage. $151 was bet, and $26 was taken about the bottom two runners. Frill seeking into 21 or even 20, and the bottom one, Dream Forward, 26 into about $17. Figures were skinny, and the winner well backed. The last race, we saw 100.6 on the screen. There was only about 92% in the marketplace. I'll give you a quick rundown of the prices. Now, this was no good, this race whatsoever. I lost on it, had a bad result, and one of the reasons being that the top weight here, Nambian, it didn't have a price. It went from $4, 3 to 1, out to $10. It was 3s to 9s, and it settled well back in the field. It was resuming from a spell. It's a 5-year-old, only had the one start and one on the heavy track, and it didn't have a price. It was inspected by the vet and everything was okay. It was, as I say, $4 out to 10. Now the next one, runner, Kawashinki, it was $4.40 or $4.60 out to $5.50. The winner, which sat 3 wide up near the pace all the way, so his run was fairly good. Mantenant, it went from $5.50. I gave as much as $7. Started $6.50 on my board. Foxcraft never had a price. It went from 9 out to 13. That's Lass was 9 out to 10, back into 9. Mount Elmslaw, I managed to lay it to something early, but it was $17 out to 31. Angelo, a bit hard to lay, from 16 out to 19. Now the next runner was extremely well backed. It started equal favourite, Lord Mitchell. It was $12 into $5.50. They backed it 3 or 4 times, and it would have been a bad result for the captains if it would have won. It more or less had its chance. The next one, Orifica, it was $16 out to 19, back into 17. Prestidigitate, it didn't have a price. It did have a price. I didn't want to miss it. I gave as much as $41. Started 21. Al Cavan, extremely well back, from $31 into 17. Second horse, and Freeze the Moment was 20 out to 40. And the bottom one, Little Miss Rose, it was 50 out to 70, back into 50, back out to about 70 or $81. And as I say, the winner, Mantenant, it sat 3 wide outside the leaders, and it managed to hang on. It made a bit of use of itself. The second horse, Al Cavan, from a wide alley coming from barrier 12 in a field of 13, to come and sit outside the lead of Freeze the Moment, or even it was leading, turning for home, and it held on very well. But the winner was 3 wide, but it might have been half carding on it, so its run trapped wide might look as good as bad as it did, because he had the good postilion aboard, Father Schofield. There were a couple of runners, and there were 3 runners that have got no pace whatsoever. That's Lass, Mount Earnslaw, and Prestidigitate, and especially That's Lass made up a lot of ground along with Mount Earnslaw, and That's Lass hit the line very strongly, but they were entitled to run on from well back in the field because there was plenty of pace on up in front all the way. Run this race again, and you would most certainly get a few different results. that was about the meeting. Look, I don't know whether I'll do a review for Canterbury tomorrow evening. We have, I'll be home late, and we have got races the next day at Warwick Farm, so I might do something for Canterbury after I mention a few things about Canterbury, if there's anything worth mentioning, after the Warwick Farm meeting on Saturday evening. Good evening.